If you don't like me now, what are you going to say when I have to get up in front of that jury and argue that your son is not guilty by reason of diminished mental capacity?
Defense attorney Alfred Molina paints a bleak picture for anxious parents Meryl Streep and Liam Neeson about the chances of their son beating a murder rap in Before and After. It's one of 5 new movies we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert, along with Julia Roberts caught between Jekyll and Hyde, TV's Ellen DeGeneres living every woman's worst nightmare, and a high-energy feature from the man many consider the world's greatest action star, Jackie Chan. I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune. Our first film is Before and After. And here's the strange and disappointing case of 2 of our very best actors, Meryl Streep and Liam Neeson, pretty much wasting their time and ours in a pointless melodrama about parents in conflict over protecting their child accused of murder. In Before and After, Liam Neeson decides to take the law into his own hands and destroy evidence that he finds in his rebellious son's car after the boy is suspected of being involved in the death of a girl he's been dating.
You can't just destroy evidence that might save him. You can't just... What if you've destroyed evidence that would prove he's innocent?
At first, their son won't talk about the crime or the girl, but eventually he breaks his silence. Edward Furlong, a good young actor, plays the boy, but I had a problem with his casting. To me, he looks like a little old man here.
But whatever the truth is, we're standing by you, absolutely.
That's just a bunch of sentimental bull. I mean,
Hey, not so fast. Sentimental bull.
Everybody's parents say stuff like that.
Oh, do they? Do they really? And do they hide the weapon and destroy evidence and lie to the police? Do they indeed?
Before and After is full of bluster, full of scenes of actors spouting off to somehow make up for there not being any truly compelling story here. For example, Liam Neeson goes nuts when asked to testify before the grand jury.
You're acting as if we got something to hide about Jacob.
They twisted every word I said, tried to trick me into some kind of conflicting evidence. Well, I won't play that game with them. I told them so. I gave them a statement of principle.
Oh, yeah? And what was that principle? I think I missed that part.
I don't bargain for my son, and I won't help them to convict him.
Director Barbet Schroeder does not distinguish himself with this picture, especially when he created such a memorable murder melodrama with a Klaus von Bülow story in Reversal of Fortune. I think Before and After is just a case of a lot of big talent cashing some very big checks for a mediocre drama.
Well, I'm right there with you, Gene. This movie is a waste of time, it's a waste of effort, it's a waste of our attention, and it's a waste of these I don't know.
What's the story?
Here's one problem. You don't know what the story is.
No,
the
you
only
don't.
sane person in the entire movie is the young sister, and she really gives the best performance. Neeson goes ballistic every time anybody even looks at him. So in a way, he's useless as a character because he has no motivation. He just has these angry tantrums.
And you know that's a desperate actor that does that.
Yeah, and then the kid, Edward Furlong, who has been good in other pictures, here he just seems whiny and kind of distant. And Meryl Streep...
Nothing. There's no character here.
There's no real...
It's generic.
There's no real engine here that this movie is about to draw the plot from beginning to end. There just isn't.
You don't know what you're supposed to care about. I mean, then this business with the narration by the daughter saying, you know, that your life can change in an instant. There's Before and After. Well, thank you very, very much.
That's really deep. Okay, next movie. And our next movie stars Jackie Chan, who at the age of 40, with more than 35 films to his credit, is said to be the world's top non-Hollywood-based movie star. In his new movie named Rumble in the Bronx, Chan is making a deliberate effort to break into the North American market. The Bronx in this movie is actually downtown Vancouver, but never mind. In this fight sequence, Chan demonstrates his trademark, which is the way he employs all of the props that he can find. And here is an amazing scene. Chan is a superb athlete, and look at his moves here, especially the way he springs completely through that shopping cart. The plot of Rumble in the Bronx, and plot is a kind of a big word for what this movie gives us, is nothing more than some perfunctory dialogue in between the action scenes. But Jackie Chan movies are not ultra-violent like a lot of martial arts movies. He has a sense of humor. He would rather show off than smash people. And it's the way he moves, his physical coordination and creative choreography that makes his movies so entertaining. And then at the end, as all Jackie Chan fans know, under the closing credits, he shows you outtakes of the times when his stunts didn't work. You see a lot of paramedics and ambulances and some blood, and you wonder, is this guy crazy or what? I don't know, but he's entertaining.
I think it's just that he's so upbeat. I've used this phrases before, which I got from George C. Scott 25 years ago, about what really distinguishes one actor from another. He says a joy of performing quality, like Jimmy Cagney dancing. Well, this guy is the Cagney, if you will, of martial arts. He's upbeat, he's funny. He says, look it, I'm going to give you everything I got on the stage, and I'm not going to leave anything in the dressing room. Here it is, it's fun. The words in the dubbing are all screwed up. That's fun, too. It's a picture that doesn't pretend to be anything but a little bit junky, but this fun guy at the center of it, and so it works on that level.
It is junky, yet at the same time, Jackie Chan is a superb athlete. And the fact that you're actually seeing him, he jumps off the top of a garage down 3 stories onto a fire escape.
But you know what?
And also his timing and the way that he gets everything to work together, and he just reaches out and he grabs refrigerators and sofas and knives and
even if he didn't do his own stunts, even if that, which you might not necessarily be able to tell if they could hide it, it's still him upbeat. He's just, hey, I'm here.
Infectious.
I'm happy to be here. Coming up next, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde story told from the point of view of his servant. Julia Roberts is Mary Riley.
Did you see his face? No, just his eyes. He came out of the dark, like he was made of it.
I mean, suppose you were able to do absolutely whatever you wanted, with no consequences and no regrets. Then what?
I don't believe there is such a thing as actions without consequences.
That's Julia Roberts as a timid maidservant to John Malkovich as Dr. Jekyll, and Mary Riley, a powerful retelling of the Jekyll and Hyde story told through the eyes from the heart of a worker in his household. And here's the new angle, the core of this story. While Jekyll explores the dark side of his emotions as the violent Hyde, the character of Mary Riley is transformed, too, into her own woman. Early in the film, we see how concerned she is with his well-being.
I wasn't sure whether I should wake you.
Why?
Well, you can't have had much sleep, sir. I heard you coming in not 3 hours ago.
Last night, I came to the end of a very long journey. For months now, I have been engaged in the driest kind of study. But last night, all the barriers fell before me. I have made a great breakthrough.
The film Mary Riley was directed by Stephen Frears, and it features wonderful visuals, fog and shadows that almost cover the mood of a plucky young woman trying to emerge from her own personal fog. John Malkovich, who can easily play malevolent characters, is very good here as the tender, thoughtful Dr. Jekyll.
I was thinking a great deal about the story you told me last night. You must have really hated your father.
I don't know, sir.
Surely he was a monster.
When I was little and he was in work, he wasn't so bad then. It was the drinking that did it.
You think it was only the drink?
The drink turned him into a different man.
A different man?
Yes, he even looked different.
In the story, Jekyll experiments on tapping into his own bloodlust, inventing for his staff and colleagues the fiction that he's hired an assistant named Mr. Hyde. And it's the Hyde character who frequents a brothel in town with bloody, violent results.
I saw the room. There was blood on the ceiling.
And did Mrs. Faraday explain?
No, sir, but I felt sure someone had been done to death in that room.
No.
The transformation into Hyde also has its romantic side, as the Hyde character allows Jekyll to give full vent to his passion for Mary.
I feel differently with you. Why should that be? You still the rage.
Where does it come from, sir? This rage.
Mary Riley features 2 good actors in a touching love story in a marvelous production designed by Stuart Craig. and artfully directed by Stephen Frears. I recommend The Moody Mary Riley.
Boy, I liked it too. And you know, this is not the Jekyll and Hyde story that people are going to expect.
Yeah.
And Hyde in particular, who is usually played in the movies like a wolfman,
Right.
is here done as an interior thing by Malkovich.
Right.
It's what happens inside. And gee, I don't know, it's more like an art film than like an exploitation or a horror film. And it really gets into the truth, the underlying truth of this story.
Stephen Frears made a film called Prick Up Your Ears, which I think is his best work, and he has an affinity for the marginal character in society. And he sees certainly this woman as a marginal character, as all women were at this time, and also this man who has to hide his passion, which was another theme in Prick Up Your Ears. I think it's a good picture.
It's a real deep story. You know, Robert Louis Stevenson has kind of been taken over as a children's author. Treasure Island, Kidnapped, and Jekyll and Hyde is thrown in with those pictures. It's actually a very serious story, and it's surprisingly well done.
Yeah.
When we come back, Ray Liotta and Linda Fiorentino star in Unforgettable, about a man searching for his wife's killer.
To date, I've made successful transfers of neuroelectrical impulses. To us, these would be things like your first date, or your first kiss, or your first car wreck. Events or traumas in our lives that are so powerful they are unforgettable.
In the new thriller Unforgettable, Ray Liotta plays a police doctor who learns there in that scene that Linda Fiorentino has figured out a way to transfer memory from one rat to another. Liotta is transfixed by this information because everybody in town thinks he killed his wife and got off on a technicality. He knows he didn't. He thinks if he gets some of his dead wife's brain fluid and injects it into himself, he'll be able to retrieve her memories and find out who killed her. Hot on the trail, he injects the brain fluid of a young woman killed in a stick-up because he thinks the same man may have killed her and his wife. At first, Fiorentino is furious that Liotta has stolen her secret formula and is using it on himself. For one thing, it gives heart attacks to 30% of her rats. Now comes the big climax. He has brain fluids from a comatose man who may have been present at the murder. Fiorentino says she'll do the experiment instead of him, but he tricks her.
David, your heart can't take another injection. You'll die. What about the kids, David?
Well, let me say right off that Unforgettable has maybe the most absurd plot I've seen in a long time. This movie makes Congo look like a documentary. At first, it tries to handle the material in a sort of serious way, but by the end, Liotta has pumped in the memories of 3 or 4 different people, and his life is like homicidal channel surfing. Fiorentino, who can be such a strong actress, is reduced here to basically tagging along for the ride, and by the end of the movie, there are so many suspects and so many explanations that we desperately need injections of sanity, intelligence, and common sense. This movie dives right off the deep end.
I did not need the injection. I enjoyed it. I thought,
you did?
Yes, this is the kind of goofy thing. It is absurd, of course.
Thank you.
But I'll tell you what, Ray Liotta, who I think is a very underrated actor. I mean, he was superb in Goodfellas, and that's really the first time he had a chance to really show the full range of it. He is so excited.
What is he? What is he?
I'll tell you what he is. It's the classic case of the guy who's wronged. It's the same thing that propelled The Fugitive. Yeah. It's the guy who's wronged, and he wants to prove it, and he's going to do it through all this science.
So it didn't bother you that the brain fluid is all sitting there in the police evidence room, and then he sneaks in and he gets more brain fluid out of the guy in the hospital.
Roger, I had never seen anything like it.
No, neither had I.
Okay, I'd never seen anything like it, and so I have this very good actor, totally into his part. And Fiorentino at first is kind of bookish, and I thought that was, you know, after The Last Seduction, it's kind of a switch to see her. So I got 2 good actors cooking in a goofball plot I like.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed yourself.
Coming up next, TV comedian Ellen DeGeneres makes her starring feature film debut in Mr. Wrong. I've enjoyed Ellen DeGeneres as a stand-up comic, as a TV late show guest, and of course she has this hit TV series. And so as Mr. Wrong began, I thought, well, she may have conquered yet another medium, feature film. But the script of Mr. Wrong takes her bright, world-weary character and ends up running her through an ultimately stupid and very frustrating would-be comic situation where her dreamboat turns out to be the boyfriend from hell. Here's where her dateless character first meets a Mr. Right, played by Bill Pullman.
The midnight train is winding on.
Did you just play this song?
Looks that way.
Really?
I've never seen. Yeah, really.
But about 40 minutes into the picture, his character starts showing signs that he's a total flake, and she wants out big time, but she can't get away.
I am salt, and you are pepper. All right? Okay? Now, salt and pepper goes together, right? Sometimes. You know, but it doesn't have to. You don't have to have pepper with salt. Sometimes salt goes alone. Sometimes salt goes with other herbs, even. And I'm saying that I want to see other herbs.
No matter what she says, he won't take no for an answer. And that leads to this would-be comic confrontation.
Martha! Is this gentleman bothering you?
Excuse me? Excuse me? I'm her soulmate. I'm her lover.
Oh, my God.
I really felt used and abused by this picture. The script is bright and funny in introducing us to Ellen DeGeneres' character, but then it makes a complete turn and focuses on the obnoxious suitor. So here we have a woman that we are totally involved with, and then we get this guy that we want to lose, just like her. The sweetness and the whimsy are lost, and so I'm afraid is Mr. Wrong.
Well, you're right, Gene. And the bottom line on this movie, I think, is that Ellen DeGeneres is a movie star.
I think she can be.
When you say the first 40 minutes, I was with her. I liked her.
Me too.
I thought she was attractive. I thought she was interesting. I thought she was bright.
I'd follow her anywhere.
Yes, yes. And then the movie
this guy
goes completely wrong. If you were to lop off all of that bizarre stuff at the end and just keep it within the realm of reality. Bill Pullman is a good actor.
Yes,
he can play it that way, too.
Sure.
And keep it like that, as in, for example, While You Were Sleeping.
I was thinking of the
it
same
would have
picture.
been a much more effective film.
When we come back, our video pick of the week, a restored and re-released version of one of the classic movies of the last quarter century.
Siskel and Ebert's Video Pick of the Week, brought to you by Orville Redenbacher's Gourmet Popping Corn, the best part of the movies.
Our video pick this week, Martin Scorsese's 1976 movie Taxi Driver didn't win the Academy Award for Best Picture, but 20 years later, there was widespread agreement, I think, that it was one of the very best movies of the 1970s. It captured the mind of the kind of alienated urban loner who was to rewrite American history with senseless acts of violence, and it established Robert De Niro pretty securely as the leading actor of his generation. The movie starred a young Jodie Foster as a child of the streets, and De Niro as Travis Bickle, a Vietnam veteran now driving a taxi, who somehow casts himself as her savior.
Well, that's all right. I'm going to get you out of here.
So we better make it, or Sport will get mad. So how do you want to make it?
I don't want to make it. Who's Sport?
And here is one of the most famous movie scenes of all time. It wasn't written this way. Scorsese remembers that De Niro improvised by saying the same line in different ways, and the improvisation became the scene.
You talking to me? You talking to me? You talking to me? Well, then who the hell else are you talking to? Talking to me? Well, I'm the only one here.
For its 20th anniversary, Taxi Driver has been re-released with a restored print and a new stereo soundtrack, and it's going to be playing in selected theaters around the country. It's already opened in New York. Then this new version will be released on video. This is a masterpiece, and it's great to have it back in a new print. Okay, now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed this week. 2 thumbs down for Before and After, the unfocused and slow-moving drama about parents with conflicting ideas about their son accused of murder. 2 thumbs up, though, kind of surprised, for Jackie Chan's lighthearted Rumble in the Bronx, which showcases his extraordinary physical grace and athletic ability. 2 more thumbs up for Mary Riley, with Julia Roberts as a housemaid who realizes something is tragically wrong in the life of her employer. We split on John Dahl's Unforgettable, a cross between a crime thriller and a mad scientist movie. I was disappointed by its unbelievable plot, but Gene was won over by the performances of Ray Liotta and Linda Fiorentino. And finally, 2 more thumbs down for Mr. Wrong with Ellen DeGeneres and Bill Pullman.
That's it for this week. Next week, we'll be back with reviews of more new movies, including Up Close and Personal, starring Robert Redford as a TV journalist falling for his star pupil, Michelle Pfeiffer, and also The Birdcage, with Robin Williams trying desperately to camouflage his gay lifestyle from conservative Senator Gene Hackman. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
New Alpine Lace, fat-free turkey. No fat, no fat, no fat, no fat. No fat. No fat.